Hey YouTube, welcome back to another History Teacher Reacts video with Mr. Terry as I continue my quest for historical knowledge here on YouTube. Alright, a new video from Oversimplified has just released a few hours ago. And it's kind of everybody's favorite channel, so we're going to definitely check this out. So this is called The War of the Buckets. So they're getting out there, right, and trying to find, definitely more interesting stories out there on the internet, as they've done a lot of the major kind of conflicts and a lot of the major concepts in history. And it's kind of neat that they're going out and trying to find, other stuff outside kind of the mainstream history that people in the general public are usually made more aware of. All right, before we start, the original video will be down below. Make sure you go and check that out. Like and subscribe. The Oversimplified channel. It's an awesome channel, and they definitely deserve your support there. Love to have you as a subscriber here. If you like the idea of a history teacher checking out videos on the internet, love to have you aboard. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with this thing, the War of the Buckets. Let's do it.
Hey, you. Yeah, you.
Me? Me?
New merch available now, including a supremely uncool t-shirt and a glorious new character pin. Link in the description down below.
Oh, they're already marketing him, huh? The bucket?
Alright, folks, gather round. I've got some good news and some bad news. Did you say good news and glad news? No, I said good news and bad news. Very bad news. Word on the street is there's going to be a horrible plague coming in from Central Asia in the next couple decades that'll wipe out half of Europe. What's the good news? Do you have a cure? Please say you have a cure. No. Even better. The good news is we've got a new bucket for the city well.
Now, okay, the plague, right? So this is going to be probably 1330s, probably right here. Was definitely making its way from Central Asia. It's facilitated by the boom of trade connections as a result of the Mongol Empire, and it's making its way. Now, of course, there wasn't as much of the heads up and a full knowledge of what this thing was going to be like. But I love the foreshadowing they're doing here. War of the Bucket. All right.
To understand the War of the Bucket, we first need to talk about this guy. He's the man with the plan, the host with the most. He's holy, lowly. He eats ravioli with the white cassock, matching pellegrina, and the most tasteful of fringed fascias. Come on. Y'all know who I'm talking about. It's the Pope, the head of the largest religious organization in the world. But what if I told you he wasn't always the biggest?
This guy didn't get the hat, huh? Possibly, the church has had a history of, although being very stringent in a lot of things, has also had a history, of course, of adapting to local cultures. For where this guy might be from, it may have some different stylings when some of these other ones are maybe from more traditional Catholic communities. So, or he forgot his hat.
Big bad boy powerhouse he's often thought as today. That's right. Throughout history, the papacy often found itself forced to wrestle against adversity and opposition to retain its authority.
Especially in the Middle Ages.
The earliest popes, for example, suffered under the brutal persecution of the Roman Empire, and many ended up martyred, such as Pope Clement I, who was ostensibly thrown into the sea with an anchor around his neck. On the bright side, however, he's now the patron saint of fishermen. After persecution finally ended, the Pope still found himself being heavily controlled by secular kings and nobility. For over 2 centuries, the Byzantine emperor basically decided who could become Pope. Then came a real low point during what has been called the Dark Age.
So yeah, that was one of the differences of authority between East and West. What happens with the church in the West and the church in the East, especially before the Great Schism in the 11th century, that kind of made the official split between Western kind of Roman Catholicism and then Eastern Orthodoxy. The emperor, right, Byzantine emperor out east, was somebody that was a political leader as well as kind of seen as somebody that could appoint religious leaders as well. So kind of taking control over church and state. So yeah, that's why they're saying, like with the choosing. All right, so we got the Dark Age. Saeculum Obscurum. Nice. Got some Latin there.
A period where noblewomen controlled the Pope through, how should I put this, feminine charm. It was around here that one infamous Pope, John the 12th, took office. This bad boy would hold, how should I put this? Naughty no-clothes parties in the Lateran Palace. And
in the Middle Ages, this is one of the big criticisms that a lot of the purists in the church had, was how seemingly immoral some of the clergy had become when during these time periods of kind of living a different standard than what the role of these people are supposed to be, right? So, and this is also the height, part of the height of the era when popes were also did have a lot of secular influence. But yeah, living these kind of other lifestyles that didn't seem becoming of what a pope was supposed to be, and living this celibate life. But there were a lot of popes that end up having like fathering children and that sort of thing, and almost blending it into like a traditional monarchy in a way. So this was some of the big stuff. This is before the Protestant Reformation too, when a lot of these grievances for the morality of the clergy was really coming to question. But that won't start for over 100 years. I mean, there's grievances about it, but like the formalized Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther and all that, it's going to be, in the 1500s, though.
Hold. How should I put this? Naughty no-clothes parties in the Lateran Palace. And apparently, this would even happen. Come on, Zeus. Give me a 6.
Gambling?
Did I say Zeus?
Or other gods?
Thor. Ra, the Egyptian sun god? Dang it, who is it we worship? Perhaps you should read this, Your Holiness. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth? Wow, this is wild. Pope John the 12th eventually died exactly how he lived, caught in the act by an irate husband who picked the Pope up and chucked him out the window.
I hadn't heard that story. I mean, sure, the popes might have been, cheating with other people's wives, but there was a pope thrown out the window. Wow.
The point I'm trying to make here is that often the Pope was a very weak and corruptible figure and was regularly used and controlled by secular leaders as a tool to increase their own power and influence. And there was certainly an element of that in the year 800.
Well, in the West, especially once the Roman Empire in the West, when the Roman Empire collapsed, there was definitely a centralized power vacuum. I mean, it's the feudal era, so you're going to get the rise of the different states and stuff, the Franks and etc. Here as the Middle Ages are going to progress, but without some of that political check and power, these popes wielded incredible secular influence, right? Because there's not as much of an authority to check that. You know what I mean? Whereas, again, opposed in the East, they're going to continue with an emperor, and leadership of their church will definitely have oversight.
When the Pope and the Kingdom of the Franks were good BFFs, and King of the Franks, Charlemagne, was like,
there we go.
Man, being King of the Franks is nice and all, but I want more legitimacy, and also to become the continuation of the Roman Empire. So what say in return for my protection, you crown me emperor so everyone will respect me more? Sure thing, pal. We'll hold the ceremony tomorrow. Charlemagne, King of the Franks,
on Christmas.
I hereby crown you emperor of the West. Oh my goodness. I was not expecting this at all. What a surprise.
The Franks had, before this, converted to Christianity, which was a really important moment for the history of Christianity in the West, because they were one of these kind of descendant of Germanic tribes, right? And they originally had not been, Christian. These same ancestors of these tribes are the ones that overran the Roman Empire, right? And when they converted to Christianity, the Franks were probably the most powerful kingdom in all of Western Europe at this time. So when you have this conversion of them to Christianity, and with them very much being like conquerors and become very devout Christians. I've even heard of Charlemagne. I remember in school being told that you can almost think of him like a Christian warlord in a way, and spreading Christianity almost basically by force. And Franks were very influential too in defending against the push of other religions like Islam. And this gained them a lot of favor, of course, with the Pope, who saw them as kind of like protectors of Christianity out in Western Europe. So this crowning of Charlemagne, as it's going to be, kind of Emperor of the Romans, right, was definitely probably a sign of gratitude from the Pope. And also marrying basically a military political leader with the religion is going to become a very, especially potentially a very unifying force, right, with a kind of Holy Roman Empire, right? So that's a little bit of background with that. But I like how they're playing it like, oh, like he wanted this to happen, and he's acting all surprised. We'll look at the last few seconds here again.
Oh my goodness. I was not expecting this at all. What a surprise. I simply cannot accept. Oh, okay then. I guess I'll just put this back over here. Give me that crap.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he was all about it.
It was certainly an historic moment, but it also created a bit of an interesting problem. It set the precedent that from here on out, only the Pope could crown an emperor, but the Pope was also very much under the influence and control of Charlemagne.
If they get along. And this is working here, but this becomes a major issue between the emperor and the Pope, right? I mean, first off, this guy, Charlemagne is not a Roman and does not really even rule over Rome, right? I think the whole like Holy Roman Empire title, was far more a name than actual practice, because it sure sounds a lot more powerful, right? But yeah, the Holy Roman Emperor is really never a Roman, and that definitely happened here. But this whole relationship, it looked like on paper was going to be like a good symbiotic relationship, but many popes and many of the emperors did not get along, and both saw each other getting in the way of their own politics, their own religious things. They tried to, influence each other and kind of step on each other's toes. So this relationship didn't always work.
So who really held the power here? The Pope or the Emperor? I'm sure that this conflict won't cause anyone to die. Bishop of Freising, we want to thank you once again for visiting our wonderful city. It's been an honor. The pleasure is all mine, and what a wonderful tour it's been. I've seen the city walls, I've seen the towers, nothing could top that. Oh, couldn't it? Because we've saved the best for last.
Bucket?
Ta-da! Yes, that's very interesting. Isn't it the greatest thing you've ever seen? Well, I mean...
Oh, it's the significance. Oh. They offended the bucket. I think we're going to have issues. Look how angry they all look.
Get him out of here! Over time, Charlemagne's position as emperor and the kingdom of the Franks gradually evolved into the Holy Roman Empire. And by now, the Pope and the Emperor weren't such good friends anymore, since neither could agree on who was the boss of who. To make matters worse, the Emperor had taken to investing his own bishops and abbots. What does that mean? Well, allow me to explain. The problem for the Holy Roman Emperor was his empire wasn't really an empire, so much as a nightmarish federation made up of hundreds of counties, duchies, bishoprics, and more.
You ever heard the famous saying from Voltaire, right? The Holy Roman Empire was neither Holy Roman or Empire. This is a little bit about what they're talking about here, right? It's neither of those three things, right? It's so much more in name than it is actually in practice, as they're explaining right here.
The princes in charge of these local regions often didn't give the emperor their loyalty. The German nobility spent a lot of their time rebelling against the emperor, and the emperor spent a lot of his time trying to put down those rebellions. Can we get rid of them? Who? All the nobility. Get rid of them and pick new ones who are loyal to me. You can't just remove noble families from their territory. Please? Aw, okay, how about this? Some of those territories are ruled by bishops and abbots, and as Holy Roman Emperor, considered by many to be the deputy of Jesus Christ himself, perhaps you can choose who gets to become bishop and abbot.
You gotta sell it.
Yay! Now it's time to turn out the lights and go to sleep. Okay, I love you. Okay, good night. Say it back. And so it was. The emperor invested his own family and loyal followers into powerful church positions, and thereby was able to increase his own power and authority. Not only that, but the emperor and other nobility were also engaging in something called simony. That's when someone would come along and say, hey, I want to become a bishop and get all the personal riches that come with the position. Perhaps we could come to some kind of...
Exactly. Buy positions.
That's right. Church positions were actually being sold to the highest bidder.
This ends up, these things about this, selling of offices, and then, the ability of, for appointing bishops and stuff, ends up being a big issue with the Investiture Controversy. About where should this role or this appointing of officials come from? Should it be a church thing, or should it be a secular, thing by emperor or whatever, or princes? and became a very divisive thing, one of the key things that was dividing the Holy Roman Empire and the church.
And let me tell you, they probably didn't come cheap. It's gonna cost you a lot more than this. I don't think so. I've got a promo code. And speaking of
Segway!
Do you like free money? I know I do. I really like it. And that's why I use Honey. Honey is a free browser extension that automatically finds the best promo codes whenever you shop online. For free. This means you always get the best deals without even trying on over 20,000 sites like Amazon, eBay, ASOS, and more.
I hate having to look up for promo codes.
7 pizzas after a long day of animating. It's currently costing me $130. Oh, hello, honey. You have a voucher for me, you say?
Oh, pizza sounds good, doesn't it?
Click, you say? Nice. I saved $31.78, and all I did was click. There is absolutely no reason not to use Honey for everything you buy online. It's free and literally takes 2 clicks to install. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/oversimplified. That's joinhoney.com/oversimplified. And as always, by using my links, you'll be supporting my channel. So thank you. Now where were we? Oh yeah. Investing bishops and abbots, selling church positions, authority, and power. Wait a minute. This is depravity. The purpose of the church isn't for him to increase his own authority and power. It's for me to increase my own authority and power. What about Jesus, Your Holiness? What?
Exactly,
I thought the
right?
purpose of the church was to spread the good message of Jesus Christ. How drunk are you? Very. All right. The results for the election of Chief Magistrate are in. Giovanni Kablami, 1%. Spaghetti Jeff, 2%. And the bucket, 1 trillion%. Around the year 1050.
Wait, what were their
the
names?
Bucket,
What were their names
The
again?
results for the election of Chief Magistrate are in. Giovanni Kablami, 1%.
Kablami.
Spaghetti Jeff,
Spaghetti-
2%. And the bucket, 1 trillion%. Around the year 1050, a series of reformist popes came along, and they said enough was enough. They wanted to stop the emperor from abusing the church and investing his own church officials. How are you going to stop me so long as I have control over who becomes pope? Remember the circular power division? If you try to stop me, I'll just depose you and pick someone else. Oh no, I've contracted tuberculosis. And just like that, the emperor was dead. His 6-year-old son, Henry IV, took over. And as we all know, child emperors equal opportunity. The church had an opening to take back control of the papacy. Hey man, I
Rule
hope you
over
don't
him.
mind, but we're changing the rules so that only the church cardinals can elect the pope, and you no longer have any say in the matter. You know, if that's cool with you. I peed my pants. Okay, great talk. Then, with the position of the pope a little more secure, he held a big meeting where he drew up a big list of all the reforms and new powers he was giving himself. And it included some pretty gnarly stuff. Okay, first, I have the power to depose emperors. Everyone cool with that? Yeah? Let's see. Only I can depose or reinstate bishops. Yeah? Alright, no one can judge me. All princes shall only kiss my feet. Only my name shall be spoken in the churches. My name is the only name in the world. Okay, I think you're done. These were all some pretty radical powers the Pope was giving himself. And with these reforms, the Pope was basically telling the Emperor, you no longer have the right to choose your own bishops and abbots. Only I can do that. When the Emperor, now a full-grown man, heard the news, he was furious.
Now remember, the bishops and abbots have a lot of power, right? In the whole like feudal system, they're very high in social status. It comes with a lot of control over wealth and land and that sort of thing. So it's a very powerful thing, and that's definitely why I think the emperor and the princes or whatever, or how you just had this issue of who could hire them, because since that person was getting very powerful, you wanted that person to be, of course, loyal to you. So it may seem like, man, that's just like, who cares about that position, but it is a big deal.
What? This is madness! Who does this guy think he is? I'm the Emperor, for goodness sake. He can't tell me what to do. I'll invest my own bishops and abbots if I want to, and this rapscallion can go right to heck! I peed my pants again! The whole conflict escalated when Henry IV went to the Pope and said, hey, guess what, sucker? You're deposed.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Wait a minute.
No,
I'm the
you're
Pope.
deposed.
You can't depose me. You're deposed.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait a minute. I'm the Emperor. You can't depose me.
We got a
You're
problem
deposed.
here.
Oh. Wait a minute. Eventually, the German princes took advantage of the situation and they all turned against Henry. Henry was forced to apologize to the Pope and the whole thing ended there. Except it didn't. The whole conflict, known today as the Investiture Controversy, would continue on for centuries as popes and emperors engaged in a power struggle over the emperor choosing his own church officials. The overall result of this conflict is very intricate and full of complexities, but in general, the Pope was able to increase his authority. Great news, Your Holiness.
Yeah.
Your influence is
Gained a
on
lot
the
out of
rise
it.
throughout civilized Europe, except for this one city in northern Italy. Really? What's going on there? As for the emperor, he found his realm thrown into further chaos and civil war, as the local princes continued to increase their own power and independence. This was most notably the case in northern Italy. Separated from the rest of the Holy Roman Empire by the Alps, the emperor's influence and control over Italy had often been questionable.
Almost
in the current
none.
chaos, these Italian city-states began operating almost entirely independently.
Yeah.
Their practical independence was further solidified when Emperor Frederick Barbarossa came down in 1176 to try to reassert his control. The cities formed an alliance, and with the Pope's support, they kicked the emperor right back to Germany. Hooray, said the Italian city-states. We did it. We're the
You're the best of friends. Yeah, you're not really the Emperor of Rome anymore, right? I mean, you kind of never were, but now at least out of the Italian regions, which again, the Holy Roman Empire, much more in name than anything else. Best of friends. Wait, let's go back to this.
kicked the emperor right back to Germany. Hooray, said the Italian city-states. We did it. We're the best of friends. And then they immediately began attacking each other.
Oh, gosh.
Why? Well, this whole Pope versus Emperor thing, in Italy at least, had infiltrated society to its very core. Across Italy, families and cities were torn between two opposing sides. On one side, the Guelphs, who supported the Pope's cause. On the other, the Ghibellines, who supported the Emperor. These two sides struggled for control as Guelph cities battled against Ghibelline ones. As usual, personal interest played a pretty big role, as pro-Pope Guelph cities tended to be rich mercantile ones who didn't like the Emperor's taxes. Emperors supporting
sense.
Ghibellines, on the other hand, were often agricultural, where the expanding papal states were a larger threat. These cities would sometimes even switch sides depending who was in charge and their ever-changing
You
personal
want to play
interests.
Smash Bros?
In some cities, brutal
that?
fighting broke out in the streets as opposing families fought for control. At times, the conflict became so tribal that the differences
guy
between the two
off.
sides were just
Back.
downright silly. My love, I can't bear it. We must be together. But how can we? My Ghibelline family wears feathers on the left side of their caps, and your Guelph family wears them on the right.
Incompatible.
Ghibelline family cuts fruit straight down, and your Guelph family cuts fruit crosswise. These are arbitrary differences. We shouldn't let them tear us apart. We can be together no matter what our families think. Wonderful news. Let's make a toast to our love. I'll drink from my Ghibelline smooth goblet, and I shall drink from my Guelph chaste goblet.
Get out of
Get
here.
out of my sight, you dirty Pope-loving wench. Two city-states in particular that got caught in a long-standing rivalry was the Emperor supporting Modena and the Pope supporting bucket-loving Bologna. These two cities had bad blood between them, as they
Wait,
had
what did it say
the
under
Pope
Bologna?
supporting bucket-loving Bologna.
Home to the world's most amazing, wise, gracious, honorable bucket. Are they gonna tie in a little bit more about the bucket, right? I mean, obviously, it's a much bigger contextual thing, right? But the bucket.
Bologna. These two cities had bad blood between them, as they had already fought against each other on a number of occasions. In 1249, the two sides took part in the Battle of Fasolta, after which the victorious Bolognese launched a live donkey into Modena to humiliate them. For decades after
Whoa.
that, the two sides would occasionally take little day trips into each other's territory and mess things about a bit. In the fateful year of 1325, the Bolognese went on one such trip and laid waste to some farmland. The ruler of Modena, Passerino de Bonacolsi, was having none of it. The Bolognese had two major forts protecting their city in the southwest, so Passerino, in retaliation, decided to take an army down and lay siege to one of them. Hey, you dirty Bolognese jerks! You think you can raid our farmlands? Come out here and face me like a man! Hey man, what's up? I just come out to let you know that there's no need to siege us because— Whoa, hey man, chill out. I'm trying to tell you— Whoa, stop doing that. I'm trying to tell you I'm actually secretly sympathetic to the Imperial cause and I want to willingly hand the fort over to you. Oh, cool. Okay. Dude, what was that for? For betraying your people. And this is for joining mine. Mwah. The Bolognese were pretty unhappy to lose one of their main defensive forts, but to make matters worse, then this happened. Hey, wait a minute.
Oh.
Where's the bucket? Oh no, it's gone.
Did they
Those
steal it?
Modenese must have taken it. We'll make them pay. This is unacceptable. They may take our lives. They may take our fort, but they will never take our bucket. Oh wait, here it is. I found it, guys. It's right here. Phew. Could you imagine if we started a war over that? That would have been really stupid, and there'd probably be a billion videos about it on YouTube one day. Thank goodness it never actually happened. That's right. The famous story you may know about the War of the Bucket, that the war started because Modena stole Bologna's bucket, doesn't actually seem to be quite right. I was surprised to find that the bucket was likely not actually stolen at the start of the war. And at this point, I want to thank and give a big shout out to fellow history YouTuber M. Laser. He's the one guy I found who actually translated a fantastic original Italian source, and then kindly allowed me to use his work in my own research. He does
Awesome. We need more people like this on YouTube. We really do.
really well researched and in-depth videos, and definitely deserves way more subscribers, so please head on over and check him out. The real reason Bologna
You know, people doing the real kind of research, you know, out there and transcribing that. That's so important. Good. I'll have to check that out for sure.
seems to have declared war on Modena is simply that they both hated each other, supported opposing factions, the Pope had called on Guelph cities to attack Passerino, and Bologna wanted its fort back. And they were gonna get it back. Bologna had a large force, much larger than what Modena could muster up, so they felt pretty confident. They sent half their force to lay siege and take back the fort, and the other half took defensive positions to prevent the Modenese from crossing the river. The smaller Modenese force were struggling to find a place to cross, so one night they were like, "Hey guys, look out, we're attacking way up here in the north. Better move your troops." Oh, would you look at that? That was easy. And just like that, the Modenese were across the river. The Bolognese were probably expecting the Modenese to come and break their siege, but instead, the Modenese went for the second fort at Zappolino. Bologna couldn't afford to lose both of its defensive forts, so the entire Bolognese force moved to take defensive positions at Zappolino. When the Modenese arrived, it was already late in the day, and there were about 2 hours of sunlight left. In most medieval battles, at this point, both sides would set up a camp, rest for the night, and prepare for battle the next day. But the outnumbered Modenese decided the only way to win was to deal a quick, decisive blow while the Bolognese were still unorganized and unprepared, and that's exactly what they did. They charged at the Bolognese line, and the two sides engaged in fierce combat. Then the sneaky Modenese pulled what must be the most predictable, yet somehow consistently surprising move in medieval warfare. They sent the cavalry around the side and hit them from behind. Bing bang bong, the Bolognese went on the run. With casualties in the thousands, Modena had won, and the Modenese cavalry chased the Bolognese cavalry all the way back to the city. After Modena's victory, they went on a tour of the Bolognese countryside, burning some stuff down along the way. When they reached the city itself, instead of laying siege, they set up a camp and basically held a massive party for 3 days. The defeated Bolognese could only sit back and watch. As the Modenese force began packing up and getting ready to leave, they noticed something. Oh my gosh. Hey, check this out. No way. Are you kidding me? They're still using traditional wells. Hey, you dumb Bolognese. Ever heard of an artesian well?
Yeah.
You can't even get water out of the ground without using a stupid bucket. It's not a stupid bucket. It's a wonderful bucket. Yeah, whatever, bucket boy. We're taking this with us.
Uh-oh.
So Modena stole Bologna's bucket and put it up on display in their cathedral, eventually moving it to the city hall, where it remains on display to this day.
Oh, really?
The two cities came to a peace settlement a few months later. Bologna would have to pay heavy war reparations, and in exchange, Modena would return all conquered territories. Modena kept the bucket. Despite being one of the bloodiest battles in medieval Italian history, it didn't really change anything, except now Modena had Bologna's bucket. As for the larger power struggle between the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor, that would continue on for some time and played a part in many major events of medieval history.
I was like, oh, they know when these videos are coming out. They're like way in advance. The Great Brexit War. Nice. Area 51 raid oversimplified. PewDiePie versus T-Series. Oversimplified. Nice.
Such as the Crusades, the Protestant Reformation, eventually leading to the general separation of church and state we see in Europe today. So there you have it. We learnt about the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor, the Investiture Controversy, and finally, the War of the Bucket. It's been a long day, and it's time to turn out the lights and go to sleep. Okay, I love you. Okay.
Say it
Good night.
back.
Say it back!
Awesome. Oh man, Oversimplified so great. It's so cool, and I love how they're able to make these stories so they're entertaining and informative, and they seem to be getting funnier as they go on too. But it's great they're kind of getting into this. Yeah, Investiture Controversy, something that's not talked about a lot, and I don't know the role of this War of the Bucket as kind of an effect of that, but it does make it. It does make it jump out a little bit. So that was great how they were able to do that. So that's great. I'm so glad they are still making videos. You know, I know they take such a long time for them to do because the productions our production values are very good. And take a lot of time for the animations and then the research and stuff like that. So that's awesome. So when they come out, that's such a cool thing. I know so many of you are big fans, and I am too. In fact, it's the first videos that I did on this channel were from Oversimplified. So if you haven't seen those, I've done videos, I believe, for all of them now. So definitely check those out if you're looking for some commentary on some of these other awesome videos that they did. All right, just a reminder that the original videos is down below, so make sure that you go like and subscribe over to their channel if you have not subscribed to Oversimplified. I don't know what you're waiting for, but be sure to give them support because they absolutely deserve it. Thanks for everyone that's been subscribing and liking videos here. I really appreciate all the support. It's been awesome. A few plugs on the way out. If you haven't joined our Discord server, we have an active Discord server of a lot of history fans. There will be a link down below. It's a great way to communicate with others in the channel and stay a little bit more connected that way. Also, if you would like to support in other ways, you may join, and definitely invited to join the Patreon. Right now, one of the perks of joining the Patreon is to participate in polls that get videos kind of fast-tracked to getting on this website. So it's a way to get a little more influence. And right now it's set to people of all donation levels or pledge levels are able to participate in that. For other ways you can look to support the channel, look down in the description, and I really appreciate that. But first and foremost, thanks for being here, following along with our journey. It's great to have you along with the ride here. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and end it, and we'll say goodbye. Bye.